What if the reason you can't fluently speak a second language isn't because you don't study enough, but because you study, like, way too much?
Yeah, that is such a wild concept to wrap your head around.
Right. We carry around this massive, intimidating assumption about learning something new. It's, the whole moving to a new planet fantasy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You imagine you have to pack up your entire life, buy a one-way ticket to London or New York, and just completely immerse yourself in a foreign landscape to ever have a genuine chance at fluency.
Because we treat learning as this geographical problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than a practical one.
Exactly.
And it creates a tremendous psychological barrier. The myth of total immersion tells us that unless we are surrounded by native speakers, 24 hours a day, standing in the middle of a bustling foreign city, we are just inherently at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
It turns the act of learning into this grand, unattainable luxury reserved for people with, I don't know, endless free time and disposable income.
And for you, the listener, I know you've likely felt that exact frustration. You want to master a new skill. Maybe it's English, maybe it's something else entirely. But you look at your life and think, well, my schedule is packed.
Right, or your baseline knowledge is far from perfect.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you definitely don't live in the right environment. It feels like you're disqualified before you even step up to the starting line. But today, we are dismantling that geographical excuse completely.
It's so necessary.
We've been analyzing this really fascinating transcript from a YouTube video by English Unleashed, the podcast. And the mission of this deep dive is to extract the actionable, surprisingly small steps that transform learning from a stressful chore into just an effortless daily habit.
Because the most crucial thing to understand right out of the gate
Hmm.
is that grinding through textbooks for hours, obsessing over grammatical perfection, is likely the exact thing slowing your progress.
Wow, really?
Yeah, the traditional academic approach forces you to intellectualize a process that is fundamentally organic.
So if we aren't packing our bags and we aren't locking ourselves in a library with a giant stack of grammar books, where do we actually start on day one? Like, we need a practical tool to practice speaking immediately.
Right. Well, we have to shift the paradigm away from language as a purely cognitive exercise. It's not just about memorizing vocabulary and syntax. What's fascinating here is that fluency isn't just a mental exercise. It's a physical one.
A physical exercise.
Yeah. There's a technique highlighted in the material called shadowing. The premise is incredibly straightforward. You listen to someone speaking the target language, and you repeat it exactly like an echo.
Just mirroring them.
Exactly. You don't pause the audio. You don't reach for a dictionary. You absolutely do not try to translate the words in your head.
You just mimic it.
You actively try to match the speaker's speed, their tone, and the rhythm of their sentences.
That feels a lot like learning to play a song on the guitar.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Like, when you first pick up the instrument, you don't necessarily sit in a quiet room reading complex sheet music. You put on your favorite record, and you just try to play along with the track.
Right.
Your fingers are clumsy, you're missing notes, but you're trying to catch the rhythm of the drums and master the feel of the song before you ever get bogged down in, like, music theory.
And just like playing that guitar, you are prioritizing rhythm and muscle memory over perfect, isolated comprehension.
Yeah.
I mean, the mechanics of your jaw, your tongue, your vocal cords, they are all physical muscles.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Every language has its own distinct physical choreography. French moves the mouth differently than Mandarin, which moves the mouth differently than English.
Right.
Shadowing trains the brain and the mouth to work together so you get used to how the language literally feels to produce.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because this is where I can see people getting stuck. The material explicitly says that when you are listening to audio every day, making it your background music, it's completely fine if you only understand like 30 to 50% of what you are hearing.
Yeah, absolutely fine.
And with the shadowing, you are repeating things without translating them. So if someone is just repeating sounds without knowing what half the words actually mean, aren't they just doing a really good impression? Like, are they genuinely learning?
It feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like you're just performing a party trick or something.
Yeah.
But that assumes fluency is purely about knowing vocabulary words, which totally misses the hidden mechanics of how we speak.
Yeah.
If you are always stopping to look up a word or always translating it back into your mother tongue in your head, you are actively practicing a delay.
Oh, wow. Practicing a delay.
Exactly. You are building a translation habit, not a speaking habit. By mirroring the sounds without stopping, you are breaking that translation delay. You are building phonetic familiarity.
So even if you don't know the definitions yet.
Right. Even if you only understand a fraction of the background audio, your brain is subconsciously absorbing the cadence, the pitch, and where the natural pauses fall.
So you are laying down the physical tracks before you run the train.
That's it.
When you do eventually learn what a specific vocabulary word means, your mouth already knows the muscle memory required to deliver it effortlessly.
And that physical momentum is usually paired with reading aloud, too. Grabbing a simple text like a children's book or a short dialogue and reading it slowly at first.
Just to get the mouth moving.
Yeah, and then faster. Then reading it with heavy expression, imagining you are an actor performing a scene. It basically acts as a dedicated gym session specifically for your speaking muscles.
Okay, so the mouth is moving and we're laying down that physical foundation. But if my brain is still manually translating every single word from my native language into English before I open my mouth, I'm still going to stutter, right?
Oh, for sure. You hit a bottleneck.
The physical momentum has to be matched by a cognitive shift. So how do we break the brain's internal translation habit?
Well, this requires changing how your inner monologue operates. You have to start thinking in the target language. Translating from your native language takes time. And that microsecond delay is exactly what causes the stumbling.
The filler words.
Exactly. The filler words, the nervousness when you try to participate in a real-time conversation.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because telling someone to simply think in a new language sounds completely impossible.
It sounds super daunting.
If you barely have any vocabulary, telling your brain to just switch tracks feels like telling someone to suddenly start thinking in advanced calculus.
Right.
How do you force your internal monologue to change when you don't even have the words to fill a basic sentence?
You do it by stripping the complexity all the way down to the studs. You start ridiculously small with incredibly simple, almost childlike sentences.
Okay, like what?
When you wake up, your only thought in English might be, "It's morning, I'm still sleepy, I need coffee." Just one isolated thought at a time.
Oh, I see.
When you walk outside, your brain observes, "The sky is blue, I see a dog."
So you aren't trying to debate philosophy in your head. You are just narrating your immediate reality.
Exactly. And the reason this works comes down to neuroplasticity. To put it simply, imagine your brain is a dense forest. Right now, to get from seeing a dog to saying the word dog in English, you're walking down a well-worn, paved highway to your native language.
And then taking a detour.
Right. Then you are bushwhacking your way through the weeds over to the English word. It's slow and exhausting. By using these simple daily observations, neuroplasticity allows your brain to lay down fresh asphalt.
A new road.
Yes, you are building a direct highway between the visual of the animal and the English word, completely bypassing the mother tongue. You aren't retrieving vocabulary from a mental dictionary anymore. You are wiring the new language directly to your physical senses.
So you are looking at the actual blue sky, and your brain is directly generating the English word blue.
Exactly.
And eventually, I guess you progress from silent thoughts to whispering or speaking these thoughts quietly out loud.
Yeah, it becomes this gentle, daily conversation with yourself, where you normalize the language within your own mind, completely free of performance anxiety.
It creates a safe environment, but of course, there is a lingering trap here.
Always a trap.
Right, because we have the physical mouth movements and we have the internal cognitive thoughts. But let's be real, motivation fades.
Ooh, prickly.
If this takes extra energy out of your day or feels like a chore you have to complete before bed, you're going to quit by Friday. So how do we force this to happen automatically so we don't have to rely on willpower?
We have to construct an external environment that triggers these habits effortlessly. We have to stop studying the language and start living with it.
Living with it.
Yeah, this is about designing a micro-immersion environment, and it starts with a device most of us look at 50 to 100 times a day, the smartphone. The recommendation is to change your phone's operating language to English.
Let's look at the psychology of that because it sounds like such a minor tweak. But suddenly, every time you want to do something basic, you are confronted with English.
It taps into the psychology of utility and survival. When you change those settings, you passively start seeing words like airplane mode, brightness, update available, and delete.
Right, words you need to use.
Exactly. When your brain associates a foreign word with an immediate, required, reward-like needing to hit the settings button to connect to Wi-Fi, it learns that word instantly.
It just sticks.
It bypasses the need for rote memorization because the vocabulary is tied to a function you desperately need in that moment.
So what does this all mean? To me, it sounds exactly like a Trojan horse.
A Trojan horse, I love that.
Yeah, you are sneaking the new language past your brain's natural defenses by hiding it inside the apps, the daily routines, and the dopamine loops you already rely on.
Exactly.
Your brain doesn't put up a fight or get exhausted because it just wants to check the screen brightness and, oh, look, it absorbed an English word in the process.
It is the ultimate application of what behavioral psychologists call habit stacking. Instead of carving out 30 minutes in a busy schedule to study, you are just swapping the language of the actions you are already doing.
What's another way to stack these habits?
Another brilliant method for this is the microdiary. We aren't talking about writing pages of deep reflection, just 3 simple sentences a night. Things like, I went to work, I was very tired, I drank 2 cups of coffee.
That takes maybe 60 seconds, but it builds sentence structure using the real practical vocabulary of your actual life.
Exactly.
But out of all these environmental tweaks, there is one that sounds uniquely excruciating. Recording a 1-minute voice message. Talking about your day into your phone and then having to listen back to it. I mean, hearing your own recorded voice is usually mildly horrifying for most of us.
Oh, it is deeply uncomfortable. We cringe when we hear our own voices because of the way sound resonates in our skulls versus how it sounds on a recording.
It's the worst.
But pushing through that specific discomfort is a really powerful tool for self-awareness. When you record a 1-minute summary of your day and play it back, nobody else has to hear it. It is a completely private feedback loop.
So you are creating a safe space for failure.
Exactly. You hear your own pronunciation, you spot your own grammar pattern, you start to notice, oh, I keep using the present tense when I mean the past tense, which allows you to fix it the next day.
Without anyone judging you.
Right. It builds immense self-awareness and mimics the pressure of speaking out loud without the social stakes of a teacher correcting you in front of a classroom.
And once you build a little confidence in that private feedback loop, how do you take it outward? How do you simulate that bustling foreign city environment without leaving your house?
You leverage online communities, WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook groups, or language exchange apps like Tandem. Start sending voice notes and reading messages from other learners or native speakers.
This shifts the entire dynamic from academic pressure to social utility.
Yes.
Like when someone sends a joke or a story in a WhatsApp group, you want to understand it so you can participate in the social bonding. You're using the language to communicate and connect with another human being, not just to pass a vocabulary quiz.
The language becomes alive. It has a real-world purpose. And to capture the modern conversational rhythm of that living language, the final piece of the environmental puzzle taps into the content we are already consuming anyway.
Short-form video.
Exactly. TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. The strategy is to find a short video, even just a 20-second clip about travel or food. Watch it a few times, and then pause and repeat the sentences.
Which brings us right back to where we started with shadowing.
Full circle.
But instead of an artificial, slow-paced audio track from a textbook, you are shadowing real modern English. You are capturing the current cultural cadence, the slang, the speed of how people actually talk.
Yeah, you're tapping into the culture.
Instead of saying good morning in your native language, you just say it in English. Instead of writing your grocery list in your mother tongue, you write it in English. You turn your small, mundane daily actions into your practice arena.
The path to mastering information, or a new language, really does not rely on relocating your physical body to a new country. It relies on 3 core pillars.
Okay, let's recap those.
First, the physical act of shadowing to train the mouth and break the translation delay. Second, the cognitive shift of direct, simple inner thoughts to rewire the brain. And third, the environmental design of micro-immersion to make the practice unavoidable and automatic.
It completely changes how you look at the learning process. For you, the listener, I really want you to realize that this framework applies beautifully to whatever you are trying to master right now. Whether you are trying to learn a spoken language, or master a coding syntax like Python, or develop a new professional skill for your career, stop treating it like a rigid, isolated subject to study. You have to find small, clever ways to just live with it. To make it your background music, stack it onto your existing habits and let your brain absorb it naturally.
Which leaves us with a rather profound concept to ponder, honestly.
Oh.
We know that the language we use fundamentally shapes the way we perceive the world around us. Different languages emphasize different emotional states, different ways of framing responsibility, and different ways of observing time.
That's true.
So if we take this micro-immersion advice to heart, how might changing the language of our most mundane inner thoughts, even just internally whispering, I need coffee, with a completely new rhythm, vocabulary, and cultural cadence, subtly shift our actual personalities. How does changing the invisible language of our inner monologue ultimately change the way we experience the daily moments of our lives?
Wow. It really makes you wonder if that new language isn't just giving you new words, but maybe a slightly new way of existing in the world. And the best part, you don't even have to pack a bag or buy a plane ticket to find out. You just have to pick up